That makes sense. Right. Why is she not? She hasn't shut off the electricity. She's gonna do that when? Wait, just wait, I'm talking. I'm gonna have you talk to Rich, because he's yapping that I can't. Yeah.
Put it in the Verizon. Gosh.
Hi, Rich. How are you?
Good.
Good.
How are you? Better turn my volume up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So dark in here.
Okay, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hey, one of your questions on here, you got to get rid of.
Oh, yeah, sure. I won't ask. I just want to kind of give you the quick version, but which ones you will not want me
Do
to
you
ask?
charge late fees? They're illegal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just
There
take
you
that
go.
down.
So I could ask you that, and you could say that it's illegal.
I'd be happy to, yeah, if you want to ask.
Well, I thought it was after so many days you could do it. Like
No.
after 3 days or something?
Never. The only one what you do, what you do is you send out, you tell them, you say, listen, you're always late, okay? Like right now, today's what, the 20th? I got a guy that hasn't paid me yet. Two of them, three of them, actually, I think about it. But one guy's always on the 15th. But they will square up. But I tell them, I said, listen, if you don't, pay on the first. You can send me 12 months of rent checks, all dated the first of the month, and I will put them in after the first of the month. Don't worry about that. Don't be late. I said, if you're late, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send a constable out, and your rent's going up $100 every time. Simple as that. Just $100, just till you learn your lesson or you move out. Now we got COVID, so I haven't been able to do that as well. So, but I definitely raised $200 in rents from these knuckleheads not paying in the past, and they're still not paying. So I'll have to do it again, at some point. That's the only way you can. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, and I'm trying to think of where I saw that or whatever about if it was after so many days that you could charge a late.
Not in Mass, unfortunately. It stinks.
You can't do anything in Mass.
No, you really can't. Very tenant-friendly state.
Right?
Yep. Oops, let me shut my door. My cat will come in. I won't be at the investor meeting. The kid said he'll go golfing with me this afternoon, my 18-year-old, so I barely ever get him even to talk to me. So they get him to go play golf. It's like, wow, this is great.
Right.
That's why, but whatever. I'll go along with the flow.
Yeah. Nice. Where is everybody? Usually people are on by now.
Call somebody quick to me. Hey, Steve, what's up? 140 tee time. I'm gonna get down there like 120, 125 to hit some balls and then go. Okay. Harmon Golf Club is on Concord Street in Rockland. You got GPS, right? Yeah, just put Harmon Golf. It is. We'll play it twice. Okay. See you down there, get some balls by. We got some, Eleni, is that how you say it, Kristen? Eleni?
I think so. Elaney.
Eleni.
Elaine,
When you said it,
hi,
when you
Rich,
said,
how
I was like, no, wait, don't say it, and I know it.
are you? Sorry, guys, I'm keeping the camera off because A, you don't want to see what I look like, and B, I'm multitasking, trying to cook dinner ahead of time.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Once you're in this, I'll be over.
Bolognese.
Nice.
I figure I should try to use the time, as efficiently as I can today.
Yeah, sure.
Margaret.
Mark's on. I'm Margaret, how are you?
Your thing's on you. You still having trouble with your computer?
Who are you saying that to, Kristen?
Margaret.
Oh,
There you go. I gotta unmute myself.
She's-
Hi,
Yeah, that would help.
hi, Rich. How are you?
awesome. How's it going, Margaret?
Very good.
Mark, hi, Christine.
Hi, how are you?
Mark. Hi,
Oh,
Christine.
nice picture. I like that. Looks good.
Afternoon.
Big. It's nice out, Christine, or what?
Beautiful. Look at the trees
Yeah, no
across the
kidding.
street here. Just waiting for the fire department here.
That's fine.
I'll
Nice.
put it on mute when he's pushing that button.
Yeah, please do.
Please.
No doubt.
Wait, one more minute and then we'll get started with our ahas.
Right on time.
Mhm.
Fire department is right on time.
Apparently it's a school vacation week. Is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Well, they're on vacation, the adults aren't, right?
No vacations yet.
Nope.
Hey, MacBook Pro, what's your real name?
I know, right?
Hey, Bill Stone.
Bill Stone, where's he? Oh, there he is.
Hang on, get it set up here. I'm working on it.
Patrick.
Patrick's there. We still don't know who MacBook Pro is, though.
Nope.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good, how's everything?
Good.
That's a nice new listing you've got coming up on Morningside Drive there, Chris.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. Karen, that's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Yep, I'm gonna list it, pictures of Wednesday, I'm gonna list it Thursday. It's gonna be insane.
Oh, it will be, yeah,
It'll be insane. Yeah.
yeah,
Nice house, clean, like
right.
nice landscaping and so yeah.
Hey, just a quick shout out to tomorrow. I believe it's going to be, I'm listing the Garlisi Zaboski married couple condo, but I'm not sure if there's going to be a Zaboski. She might have divorced him already. I'm not sure. We'll see.
I know, right?
Tomorrow. That's tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We'll have listing presentation. You newer agents want to see how I do it. Feel free to sign in and watch.
Yep, awesome.
All right.
It's gonna be interesting if Rich and Zeb are gonna be on together.
Now, you have to wear clothes, okay?
All right, you can start now.
Zeb's on. Awesome. All right,
Wait a
guys.
second. I want to be like Patrick. Let me put my collar up.
You better. Hey buddy, it's a bit hot.
Let's all do
A
it.
bit hot for that red jacket you got on there.
It's a shirt.
Oh, you got a shirt on, okay. Thought you had the body warmer on there again. Was going to say, I check up from the neck up.
That's next week.
There you go.
Awesome. All right. Good morning or good afternoon. So let's talk about some ahas from the chapter. So we read buy and hold and own a million. So what were your ahas? What did you learn? Because it was good stuff in this chapter. Chapters.
How about there's three or four different ways to buy and hold and or the financing?
Mhm.
Kind of covered everything. Flips, buy and sell quick. Even talked about just telling people what deals were You're getting
Yeah.
paid for that, basically being an agent.
And they had buy and live. I like that. That was the first time I've heard that, buy and live. We always talk
Yeah.
about everything else, but
I'm going to touch on that, Kristen. I think it's a great idea, especially for you younger people that don't have anything yet. We'll talk
our
about buying
children.
and living. Could be a great way to get into to a house and
Yep.
go from there and leverage it for the future, you know?
Yeah,
So,
especially
you
like young adults, you know, kids, like that's what my daughter's plan is. She's gonna graduate college, come live here for a year, save some more money, and then go buy a multifamily.
Yeah.
And then she can live in it for free, right?
I believe
let's
yeah,
go.
Laura. Hi, Teresa, good. Got a nice group.
Awesome. What else? What else? What about the worksheets? Like it was really step by step too. I can't remember what page it was, but it was a step by step on what you need to do and how to figure everything out. Did anybody read it? I guess we
236 or
should
something?
ask.
Yeah, it was on page 236.
Yeah.
The terms worksheet buy and hold was that one. I think 235 was, no, that was it, buy and hold.
And you can get those online too. If you go to like Keller Inc., you can get I have all of these saved. They're in Excel spreadsheets. So you can actually go on Keller Inc., download all of the MREI docs, whether it's a buy and hold, buy and sell, whatever, flip. You can use those worksheets. So they're available to you. What else?
I forget what the APB was. Was there an APB or?
We'll say 0.8 to 0.1 or to 1.0 you wanted to see from the rents to the price, which I think is very aggressive, but especially in this market.
Well, you think it's less than 1%? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, something's beeping here in my house. I don't know what it is.
Your pacemaker.
What else? Did anyone else read it? If not, we'll just skip ahead to the interview.
Well,
It's
this is-
important.
I'm a big buy and hold guy, Kristen, so that's fine. We're going to kind of cover the chapter anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we'll get started then. I mean, honestly, guys, if you are, you know, really seriously interested in investing, definitely read this book, and obviously read it more than once, because it's important that you understand it before you get involved in it. I mean, I know we're real estate agents and stuff, but you know, take the tips out of the book and make sure that you do the math to make sure that it does make sense. So today we're going to be interviewing Rich Lannon. Rich Lannon, wave for those. I think everybody knows you there. Yeah. So Rich works in the Braintree office, as you know, and he is a buy and hold guy. So he owns a lot of properties. He buys them, he holds them. And we're going to be talking about that. He does some things a little different now, and we'll talk about, what he has as far as properties and if he's got mortgages on them or what. So, Rich, let's start off by, how long have you been in real estate?
This is my 36th year.
36 years. So how old were you when we won't do the math, but how
22.
old were you? You were 22 when you got into real estate.
Right.
You graduated Harvard.
I ended up in real estate. For
And you
36
ended up
years.
in real estate.
Yeah.
So right out of college, did you go right into real estate?
Back then, this is so dinosaur, you guys probably can't even believe it, but maybe Zeb remembers, but you had to take a test. I mean, a course that was offered once a week for 3 months and then pass the test. Now you can get it in like a day, you know?
Yeah,
And
40
sign up for the
hours.
test and you're done in like 48 hours. It's all over. So I did laboring. I poured concrete and finished concrete all summer.
When you graduated Harvard?
Mhm.
Wow. And then you said, I'm getting into real estate?
I did.
Wow,
I did.
amazing, awesome. And so when did you buy your first investment property?
That was, I was 27 years ago, so I was 30 years old at that time, 1994.
Okay. And what made you decide to start buying investment properties?
It's a great question. So I got to back up. First of all, sometimes you got to get lucky in life. Okay. I was engaged to my now wife, Geraldine. A lot of you guys know her. And my brother's friend's parents had inherited a hoarder house in Weymouth. Okay, hoarder. And when you talk about hoarder, it was all hoarder. Okay, and they've been working on it for 2 years, and it's just overwhelming task because they're raising kids, they're doing their jobs, they're living their life, and they got to empty out this house and figure out if there's anything of value in there. And so they reached out to me and Geraldine when we got engaged and said, would you consider being like the caretaker of this house? You can have 3 rooms in the bathroom, and you know, we need to come in and out here and there. And when I say here and there, it was like every 4, 5, 6 months. And they said, but it'll be $90 a month plus utilities. And I said, you bet. And it was awful. We didn't even get kids on Halloween. It was such a haunted house. Okay. But they had 3 rooms, a basement, a barn, and a back room, all full of crap that they had to go through. My wife found in the wax paper holder a set of diamond earrings, and we turned them over to them. And they were like, thank you. You know, that's the kind of stuff the lady had. She had hoarder mentality. She would hide the good stuff and keep the rest. So anyway, long story, let's fast forward to 1993. We get married. My wife unfortunately got laid off. So she's working at the coffee shop that our friend Greg Peasy owned down the street. So she's going there to and from every day, just collecting her tips. And we were able to make the bills because it's only $90 a month on what I made for commissions. So she's banking all her cash, right? So we get a few grand in the bank. I was working for a little shop called USA Realty at the time. Some of you may remember the late great Bob Bell, Bob Borelli, Michelle Schragle-Bowen, Patrick Lydon was actually my partner. Yep. So we decided we were renting from George Burke, his office up in 339 in North Quincy on Hancock Street, 339 Hancock Street. That's where Jan Tan and those guys are now. We're going to buy a building and move our office. So Tom Mullen, my buddy, he listed a 4-family on Newport Ave that had business zoning. So we all went and looked at it, and I liked it. But the other partners, because they knew they're going to be breaking up soon and going their own way, said, nah, that's not going to work. And it really wouldn't have worked for an office anyway. But then Mullen, being very chagrined and needing every nickel he could get, said, well, Lannon, you're the only one that doesn't own a house. Why don't you guys buy it? You and Gerald can buy it. You can move in the vacant apartment and you know, get the house. So we had an in-house mortgage guy, Charlie, can't remember his name, last name now, but he qualified me. I was able to qualify for it. So we bought it, we did an inspection, termites all over the place, got it all fixed by the old owner, and got the FHA mortgage. Now, as you all know, Federal Housing Administration means, you know, it's owner occupied, right? So our intention was to go live there. So the great day comes, July 6th, 1994, and I'll never forget George Prizio and his wife, I think Lois or something like that. He shows up in a 3-piece suit and a bow tie. Because it was a big deal in 1994 when you're 90 years old, like he was, to sell a house, you know? So this is a fun story. We go there afterward, my wife, Geraldine, and I, right? And we go in and didn't know much about the tenants, which was really stupid on our part. So I haven't even met him. When Mullen showed us, he made sure it was empty. Nobody was there. So we go on the first door, right? And the door opens and this woman with crazy raven hair comes out. She goes, what? And right away, you just knew there wasn't something right with this lady, okay? She was off her rocker. But I'm like, hi, I'm Rich Lannon. This is my wife, Geraldine. And we just, Geraldine? My name's Geraldine, she says. And I'm like, what? You can't be Geraldine. There's no Geraldines in the world. And all of a sudden the door behind us opens up and the girl says, I'm Geraldine, but people call me Geraldine. And you look at her too, and she's got like shocks of white through her hair. She's obviously off her rocker as well, right? So my wife says to me, let's go down to Dee Dee's and talk about this little pub on the corner. So we went down to Dee Dee's, guys, and right away she said, I can't live in that building with those crazy ladies. And so we didn't ever end up living there, okay? The important thing, everybody listen to me very carefully. My intent at the closing was to occupy that property. They'll never be able to convince me otherwise, okay? Sorry, my throat. So that's how I got my first one, all right? Then after that, Geraldine got back to work and we kept doing the same thing. We were banking her money, okay? And then you can probably realize that my landlady and landlord there in Weymouth realized we bought a 4-family, yet still intended to live in Weymouth, weren't exactly too thrilled with us. So our next one we were going to go live in, and that was legit. So we bought a property on Central Ave in Braintree and moved in to that one. Funny story on that one, it was Jean Hallisey from Troop. I don't know if any of you ever dealt with Jean. She's a lovely lady. She's retired now, but we looked at it in the morning, as we were leaving, it was starting to snow. We went home, we talked about it, and we called Gene from the Weymouth house as the blizzard was hitting. All right, so we were like the only people to see it. So we negotiated all through the blizzard and got it worked out. And that was Troop's policy. She told me, she goes, I got other people calling me and they're saying they're going to make an offer, but we get an offer. We work it till the end and try to work it out. So if you don't want to buy it, we won't work it out. We'll go to the other people. Well, we worked it out and we got it. And a lot of you probably know Joe Spinella from Success. He called me a week later and he said, Lannon, we missed out on that house. I'll give you 11 grand for your purchase and sale. Now that was a lot of money in 1996, guys. Okay. And I was all for it. Like you read about. And Journal's like, no way. We are moving into that house. And I'm so glad we kept it because it was a great one. We paid it off quick and paid it on down. And it's been a good one to keep. So the rest of mine are very boring stories on the other ones I got.
So the first one, do you still own that one with the ladies that live in it?
The ladies are gone.
But you still own that property?
Still on that one. And I will tell you that Geraldine, right? She was a heavy smoker, 3 packs a day. Every time you went in there, if you came out, you reeked of cigarettes, right? So she finally, they take her out, put her in senior housing. So I tell my painter, I said, let's make those yellow walls in there like a nice color, like maybe a blue or something, okay? He calls me an hour later and he says, Lannon, the walls are blue. It was all the nicotine and tar from the smoke.
Wow, yeah.
Wow.
I believe that, yeah. So then the second one that you moved into, you still own that one too?
Yep, it's just around the corner from where we live. So we paid that one off a while ago. I did take the 2 4-families. We bought another 4-family in 1998. And that one's like my redheaded stepchild. It needs a good fire when no one's home, but that's beside the point. We bought that, and then in 2004, I had the privilege and pleasure and unfortunateness of listing 20 Front Street in Weymouth, which is just on historic register in Weymouth. It's a 5, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's just really, really prestigious looking property, right? Well, we got a bunch of offers on this and that, and I made the mistake of telling Geraldine about it. She says, well, show it to me. And the second she walked in the door, I'm like, oh, no, we're going to have to buy this one. And so we did. So what I did though, guys, was I refinanced both of my 4-families because I bought them right and they had gone up tremendously in value. And I pulled out a pair of 15-year mortgages, cash out, refi, and paid cash for the 5 unit. That is the power of leveraging your units, okay? That's why it's so important to, buy it right, pay it down, pay it off. But then Gary neglects to tell everybody you should leverage your places to get additional assets by doing things like that. And we'll get into a little further on the way I'm leveraging myself now. I'm good with my 15 units. I don't necessarily need any more. I'm just going to stick with those. I'm leveraging them to help my real estate business in a tremendous way.
So the 2 that you borrowed against, were those paid off, or did they sell? You refinanced because they had mortgages, or you just did a cash out?
We had already paid off Newport Ave with the Geraldines, so that was a 0 balance. And Water Street was not high; it was 170-ish or whatever. So we pulled out about 400 grand in mortgages on each to pay the 800,000. The cost, well, 750 on the other one on Front Street. I now have Newport Ave all paid off. All I owe is 164 grand on Water Street. Everything else is paid for. That's good. So I'm close.
Okay. So to recap, so how many doors do you have?
In 4 buildings, I have 15 units.
15 units in 4 buildings.
Yeah.
Okay. And where are they located?
Quincy, Braintree, Weymouth, all nearby. I mean, I'm lucky, you guys. I was able to buy when the market was not as good as it is today, value-wise, okay? I had a simple philosophy other than the one we bought and moved in, was that if any one vacancy should be able to pay the mortgages, okay? If you do that, forget all the other formulas and stuff. You even your most valuable one in the building, if the tenant moved out and you're left with a vacancy for a couple of months, will that still the remaining income pay the mortgage? If it did, it's a great investment. You should get it for sure. You can't do that these days. Right now, you can't really do that. You have to decide other ways of doing things, which I would suggest to everybody that doesn't own one yet is buy and live, because then you can have someone help you pay the mortgage, get it to the point where things appreciate, and then you can, move out and have a few $100 coming in and get another place. Also, with the mortgages, you probably know this, if you buy a 2 or 3 family first, and you say, I'm gonna live there, they'll believe you if you don't have anything else. If you buy a single, and then you go and tell, like a Mike King or a Bob, that you're gonna go and live in a 4 family, yeah, that's not happening, folks. Not happening, okay? Maybe on a rare instance, you're gonna get the low owner occupied rate, but that's very unlikely unless you're selling your single. So buy and live first would be my advice.
Okay. And have you ever flipped a property? You've just buy and hold?
Flip two, yeah.
You flipped 2. Okay. You want to talk about that a little bit on why you did that, where they were, and what your, what your profit was out of that?
Sure. So I'm not a big flipper guy. I work with a lot of flippers. I just sell them for them. Okay. And I finance some of them as well. We'll get into that in a minute. But so it's good to know people. It's good to have a sphere and constantly be working with that sphere. Okay. So my buddy Ted contacted me about a 2-family duplex in East Weymouth, and he said the guy wants 230 grand for it. And this was only 3 years ago. So he says, it's got to be worth more than that. We said, oh yeah, it's probably worth 400,000 or whatever. So he said, all right, well, I said, what are you gonna do? He said, I think I'm gonna buy it. So I said, okay, great. Do you need anything? You need help or anything? No, I don't need it. So I didn't hear from him for like 3 or 4 days. So I called him up. I said, hey, what's going on with it? And his money man had just then gotten an audit from the IRS, freezing all his accounts. So he had no ability to do anything. So I'm just gonna have to let it pass. I said, whoa, wait a minute. That's a good deal, Ted. Let's go look at it and I'll help you. We'll buy it together. So long story short, we bought it from the fella, and he was in and out of rehab and needed some cash. So we had to get out of there pretty quick. So we paid cash, got it. Ted's busy doing his job. I'm busy doing real estate. It took us like 1.5 years to finish the work, but we finally put it on the market and we made about 45 grand a piece after rehab costs and profit. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then probably in the early 90s, or mid 90s, you guys might know Nan Moad. She works at Section 21 College Clancy. Yep, she didn't then. So her husband and I bought a foreclosure. He used to go to the auctions, and he said, you want to be my partner? I said, sure. He bought a Fountain Lane 2-bedroom on the first floor for short money. We said, let's try to get it for like 130, and it went for 131. And he said, I think we could spend about 25 grand fixing it up. So we did, and we sold it for 205. So we each got about 20 grand. And those are my only 2 flips.
Nice. Awesome. How do you typically find the properties that you want to buy and hold?
Yep. There's good sources all around. I mean, make it known. If you're ready to be a real estate investor, make it known you're going to be one. Okay. So that people think of you when it comes time to sell. You might have heard the name Anthony Agniti Properties in Quincy. They own hundreds of units now. Pretty much if you're an old Italian landlord, you want to sell, you call up Anthony. And he just works deals behind the scenes with people that no one else ever hears about. And he gets giant buildings. I mean, like Zeb, like 40-unit beautiful buildings, all of a sudden you see Agniti Properties out front. So having a network like that is good. Nothing wrong with MLS, right? Keep your eyes on it. We have our Keller Williams people put out, I'm going to be listing a such and such. If you're interested, make it known right away. Make it known. I'm maybe interested in buying a place. Okay, you got to get your first one, buy it right, pay it down, pay it off, and then leverage the hell on it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Okay.
Let's see. So we talked about this before everyone jumped on. So we're going to talk about late fees real quick. We'll jump in that in a second, actually. So tenants. Have you had any issues with tenants? Because I know this is always the big question that everybody has, like, oh, COVID, no one's paying, and that's why they don't want to get into investment properties, because they feel like they're going to be calling about leaky toilets all the time, and then the tenants are never going to pay. What has been your experience with the tenants and COVID and not paying and all of that?
So I'll start with COVID. I have had no problems. Pretty much everybody pays. I have a guy that's, if he's either going to pay his rent or pay for his medicine to stay alive. So he's paying for his medicine to stay alive. So he owes me $27,000 in back rent. So I'm working with him to do an ERAP and a DRAP and a W, whatever those wraps are that you can get from the federal government to try to, eventually get some cash from the government for him. He has put me in his will, although I don't know what he's going to have when he finally goes. But anyway, it's just really, really unfortunate. I guess I'm too nice of a guy. If he'd gone to file the bills a decade ago when Carolyn was like, you got to get rid of him, he'd be dead by now. It's not like I'm hurting for the money for everything. So I want to get the rent? Sure, it hurts my family. My kids, whatever. He deserves to pay me something to live there, right? That said, I've only had 3 evictions over the whole time. The one was my own fault. The girl offered to have her wealthy dentist dad co-sign, and I said no. So there's advice, people listen to me. If someone offers to have someone co-sign, right on the paperwork, right away. She was in rehab for heroin. Within a week, she fell down outside and broke her wrist, and she relapsed. And I got maybe 1 month's rent out of her, and then that was it. And she ruined the place, had to redo it again when it was pretty much all done over when she was there. I also rented one time in the winter out of need when the market was bad, 2006, 7, 8. I don't know if you guys know, but it was pretty tough back then. No thing like 1989 into 1992, 3, 4. Okay, that was by far the worst. All right, but 07, 8, 9, those were tough years. And it was coming in the winter, and I needed to get somebody. And I took this knucklehead, and you guys know what scrappers are? When they collect the scrap metal and stuff. That's him. So he's out there at 9 o'clock at night with his partner. They got a grinding wheel trying to cut the metal down to fit it into the truck so they could take it to the scrapyard the next day. Waking up all the tenants, and oh God, couldn't wait to get rid of him. So, and the other one, the boyfriend ended up in prison, and so it was just a girl, and she was very nice to me. I kept saying to her, Kelly, you got to pay her go, got to pay her go, got to pay her go. We did the eviction. It was the day, morning of the move, 8 o'clock. I get over. This is the Geraldine houses, and Geraldine was still there. Oh, Mr. Lannon, I was up all night, 2 o'clock in the morning. All these people showed up and started moving stuff out of the apartment. Rather than tell me she was going, she just up and left in the middle of the night, right? Left 2 bags of trash. I got the constable and the movers there, and they're like, what do you want to do? I said, well, just throw the trash away. And he said, listen, kid, because I was still pretty young, right? He says, you haven't seen what I've seen, okay? You throw that away, and next thing you know, what'd you do with my bag of my mother's diamond rings and earrings? I want that back. He said, let me take it to the storage. The few bucks you spend will be well worth it in the end if you get something like that. She's a crook and a scammer. So didn't have the money, but I went ahead and had him take it. So 3 times in 27 years is not that bad, guys. You just can't ever rent from need. Get the cosigners, and remember the credit checks. We get credit check forms, right? If they pay other people, they will pay you. If they don't pay other people, they won't pay you. Very cut and dry, and be just ruthlessly brutal about it as far as who you take, okay? If it doesn't look right, seem right, feel right, next.
So I'm just choking to death. All right, great. Let's talk about late fees real quick. What's your feeling on late fees? What's the rule?
They're illegal. Can't do them. Can't do them. Sorry, guys, they're illegal. If you try to do it, you end up going to eviction court and they have a smart attorney or they know the law, you're going to be in deep doo. Okay, so what you can do is this is what I've done. You got a tenant who's habitually and chronically late. So it's, the 4th, 5th, 10th of the month, 15th of the month. Send them an email and say, listen, this is the last time. Okay, you got your rent's due on the whatever day, 1st, 15th, whatever it's due. I'm going to start enforcing this. Okay, mail me the next year rent checks all dated the 1st. I promise you, I won't put them in the bank until the time comes. I promise. Just make sure you pay your rent on time. Well, the next month comes and they're late. So now it's May 15th and they paid April, but they haven't paid May yet. Knock, knock, knock. It's your constable, $50, giving them a notice to quit in one hand, saying you're late on your rent. Landlord wants you out. But if you want to stay, here's a new tenancy at will or rental agreement for $100 more. Why don't you start paying your rent on time, buddy? Chickie. Because if you do, this won't happen again. And then I started doing that, I got that idea about 2 years ago. A couple of times, got $200 more rent, and then COVID hit. So you really can't do much about it now, but that's the only way you can really, kind of whack them on the wrist for being late. Okay, or just get rid of them.
Mhm.
So late fees are illegal. Is that what I heard you say?
The bigger apartment complexes do it all the time, Bill. It's illegal. The tenants don't know any better, so they just do it. It's going to be up to the Attorney General to crack down.
Even if it's written into the agreement?
Illegal. It's like, what do you call that? An unenforceable contract? Like when you're drunk on your wedding day, you're not really married, stuff like that. Billy D is laughing.
Bill, you're not really married.
That's the line of the day, Rich. That's the winner right there.
Unenforceable contract, Billy D.
You learned nothing else today, everybody. Remember that one.
Hey, Rich,
Still drunk.
as my attorney now, can you represent me?
I only play one on TV. I didn't say it out in Express last night either, so I guess I'm out.
So you can't charge a late fee, but you can go back and say, hey, you're late. You can re-sign a lease and it's going to be $100 a month more per month now. You can do that at any time once they're late.
Very carefully, let me explain. So they have to be late, which means the rental period started, say, on an example, on the 1st. Okay, so it's the 2nd or after and the rent isn't in hand. You have to deliver a notice to quit by a constable. The only way to do it in Massachusetts, okay? Please, if you haven't done it, take the rental class. It's so important. Take it several times, okay? Or just call me and I'll help you, whatever. But so it's the 2nd or 3rd, the constable shows up. Here's your notice to quit. Landlord's sick of you being late. If you want to stay, here's a new rental agreement. I am a big believer in tenancy at wills, okay? My attorney, a long time ago, he's way smarter than me. He said, only do tenancy at wills. Leases, even though L and L, right? Lease landlord, nope. Leases for the tenant and TAWs for the landlord. So I only do month to month. So he just says, okay, so it's the 2nd of the month. It would be, say, today's April. So it was April 2nd I sent it out. I can't do it for May 1st. That's not enough notice. It's going to be for June 1st. June 1st. Okay, so new rent starts June 1st or they move up. So they start paying the new rent. Let's say it went from 1,200 to 13, and then you get to July 2nd and the rent isn't in yet. You can start the process all over again. Constable comes out, new notice to quit, new rental agreement at 1,400. If you can keep doing that forever until they either figure it out or say, I can't afford this place. That's how you can do it. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Just writing a note here.
Yeah, sure. You what?
Awesome.
If you're drunk, you're not legally married?
Yeah, maybe. No. Awesome. All right. So let's talk. So we talked about this yesterday. So as far as your own, currently now, everything's paid off except for one that has a small mortgage on it, correct?
Kristen, you're not hearing, we can't hear you too
We
well.
couldn't hear you. You start over?
Really?
No,
Still can't.
very
No?
faint.
Faint.
Really?
That's
That's
better.
better.
It cuts in and out, Kristen.
I don't know why all of a sudden, but okay. I'll just scream really loud then so you can hear me.
You're fine now.
I'm fine now? Okay, maybe it's because I unplugged something. All right. So we talked yesterday. You own all of your properties outright at this point. Okay,
I have
except for
one that-
one. You have a small mortgage on that. So let's start by, did you take out like 15-year loans, 30-year loans? Did you pay extra per like a 30-year loan but paid double payments? Like how did you get them paid off?
Great question. So I told you I bought 94, 96, 98, and then 2004. 94 to 96, the market started really improving. So when we had extra money left over, I was using it, the extra rent, to pay down on the 241, 243 Newport Avenue, the 4-family, right? So we got that paid down pretty quick and paid it off. That was on a 30-year fixed, right? Then I bought all the other ones on a 30-year fixed, bought them right, got them for short money. And I had them down to such low balances, I was able to buy the 5-unit cash by refinancing out. I did do those at 15 years because it was still, there was still the cash flow to cover them all. So those started getting paid down really fast, really quick. My mother-in-law passed, unfortunately, a few years ago, and we came into some inheritance on that. And that was enough to pay off the 4-family. So it was like 3 years ago, we paid that thing down. So at that point I had the 2-family and 1 4-family and the 5-family all paid for, and then just a 15-year note on the 4-family on Water Street in Quincy. So that's been going down pretty quick. pretty quick.
So you like to pay things off very quickly.
Yeah.
Tell us why.
Buy it right, pay it down, pay it off. Okay. And then Gary should have added leverage, because for a long time, guys, the light at the end of the tunnel to me was an oncoming freight train. Okay. I mean, 2006, 7, 8, 9, I was just getting into Keller Williams, didn't know about lead generation. It was tough. I felt like the financial wolves were always right up here. Okay. And I didn't like that feeling. I don't think anybody ever does. So I wanted to get that down as low as possible, as soon as possible. So when I had extra cash, I attempted to pay down the mortgages. I mean, not neglecting repairs. You have to take care of the buildings. Everybody that's a landlord knows if you do, you're going to hear from the Board of Health. Okay. And that's never pleasant. So you got to also take care of the buildings. But I just am a big believer in paying them all down and getting to zero mortgage. And now, I've got enough cash flow that I can pick and choose my real estate clients. I don't really work with buyers much these days. I refer them out. Mr. Mark there did a couple open houses for me. I'm sure I'll be asking him to do more as I get more listings in the future. So it's nice to be able to be in that position to not have to go out there and chase all the business in the world if you don't want to.
Because you've got the cash flow coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So how are you?
That's what we're going to go talk about next, I think.
What's that?
We have a little more cash flow coming in about what we're going to talk about next, I think.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So tell us how you're leveraging now your properties.
All right. So first, I want to say a disclaimer that this is not going to be for everybody. And some of you are going to shut off your screen and run screaming into the kitchen and be like, I can't believe he's talking about doing this. Okay. It works for me and it works for my clients. So I told you about the 2-family in East Weymouth that we flipped, right? Well, I was able to do that because I had an equity line with zero balance on my house for $249,000. So the price was only $230,000. So I wrote a check at the closing on my equity line. Okay. When we sold it, I paid it off. Now, in the meantime, I thought, this is kind of cool. I know people do hard money loans. My buddy up the street, Greg Wilson, he does 11%, like you get, Patrick, a couple points, 3 points, make sure the equity's all there. And I'm like, I don't need that kind of return, but let me at least, make something on it and I'll loan it to my best clients. So what I've done, you guys, is I put an equity line on the 2-family. Santander will do that, up to $250,000 on a 2-family or less that you own, it, even if you don't live there. Okay, and that's right now, that's at 4%. My own house, that's dirt cheap, $249,000 line at 2.75. Okay, that's the one I don't pay off very often. Okay, and then I have my Quincy, where the Geraldines were, a business line of credit for $500,000. So I have the ability to come up with right at $1 million and loan it up. So who do I loan it up to? People I know and do a lot of business with. Okay. My best flipper, a fellow named Maynard, Zeb knows him. I think Billy Stone knows him. A lot of guys know him. So, because he's done about, 50 with me. He's done a ton. So he'll ask me here and there for a loan, and I'm happy to do it. So it cost me 4. I charge him 6.25. He gets the property. I get the listing back. He buys it from me. It's been a good source for me. So I have new flippers, father and son out of Weymouth. They have a loan out with me right now. Going to come on the market probably in a week to 10 days. And then I have a builder who's going to be doing a 40B in Hanson with 40 duplexes. So 20 duplexes, 40 units, 10 of which are going to be affordable. But I'll get the other 30. And I will, I'm sure, loan him the money to put up the first, like spec house or whatever you want to call it, this model home, I guess you'd say it is, you know what I mean? So I am leveraging my properties. And the way I do it is this: I have an attorney, does a quick title rundown. I make them sign original note, which I hold. I have the attorney, though, hold the mortgage. I'll tell you why in a minute. It's ready to be recorded at a moment's notice, unless it's something that they need to have recorded, okay? And then I just track it. The interest, what's due, what's pay is owed at the end. When they sell the property, the attorney reaches out to me for a payoff statement, and I give it to them. Some of the people pay me monthly. Some of them, you loan out $250,000 and you get $267,000 at the closing. It doesn't matter to me whichever way they want to go. But the mortgage and the note are very important to have. Now, I don't record all my mortgages, you guys, because I don't want the world to know that I'm doing this. Because now I got 16 people here that now know I'm doing it. And they're gonna be knocking on my door and calling me saying, hey, Lannon, can I borrow 250 grand to do this or to do that? Sorry. I would maybe consider it at a hard money type of rate like Patrick's been paying, right? But that's gonna be about it. It's only for my clients. So this is the type of thing you guys can do in the future. Okay, I get the benefit of all this gray hair and many years on most of you. Zeb. But this is the kind of things you can do if you start now and you pay it down, you pay it off, and you leverage it. Okay, you leverage it. Who's squeamish of that idea? Raise your hand. Nobody. Good. Good. I would urge it. I would urge it. I mean, those of you guys that have, I'm sure Zeb does it all the time, you know, borrows from one property to put something else up, you know, gets a nice relationship with the banks, and, you know, it's just, it's leveraging yourself, guys. You leverage yourself in your business and you leverage yourself in your investments, okay? It takes money to make money is not just a saying, it's actually true. And if you have equity, that is a form of money, and you can use it to do a lot of different things with it.
You just gave me a good I thought of it, but didn't until really now. I mean, if you own, obviously, if you own a multifamily, you can take an equity line. You could do that if you had a vacation home too.
100%. Now, vacation home, Kristen, that's brilliant. I don't have a vacation home because, well, with COVID, obviously, we're not going very many places. But if it's your vacation home and you occupy it, and maybe you just rent it out here and there, or give it to friends, that would qualify for a home equity line of credit. That's called a HELOC, guys, in the jargon, okay? And you get a book of checks with that, and you write a check as you need it. You can get up to $249,000 in a HELOC without an appraisal, okay? You do have to pay $500 to $750 if you close it within the first year, so don't close it. But that said, at your second principal residence, you're going to get the owner-occupied rate of 2.75 currently. It's always going to be the lowest. If it's an investment, the rates are always higher. Always higher. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. The risk is if you get stiffed or if the market goes down or something, you know, you still have to pay off your equity on it. Okay. So you got to make sure there's some equity in the property that the people are putting down, right? And that you are ready to jump in and own that property if you have to, because you might have to. I haven't had to yet because the market's been good. We'll see.
Yeah, I wish Billy was on the call right now, but he walked away. Because it doesn't hurt to take an equity line on that and just have it sit there. Don't use it, but have it sit there in case you need it. Because that's what I did on my main residence, and that was Billy's idea. I didn't even think to do it at the time. I'm sure you've heard the story, but whatever. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna do that just in case I ever need it, you know? And luckily I didn't need it, but I'm glad that I had it, just because now I still have it. And you never know if the market's gonna, you know, shift, and then you can't get as much money out as you wanted to. But with that money, you could now buy investment properties with that and put down payments down with that money.
You know, hopefully some of you heard Patrick. I was able to jump on that call, and you heard him say how he gets, you know, he does his home investors, and people, you know, they call him up because they go to the house that they haven't visited in years, and they just can't believe how, you know, Auntie Sue or mom or dad lived for all those last years, and they're just, the word embarrassed is not even touches the surface of how they feel. Okay. Bob Manners told me he's gone to the houses and the person stands at the curb with their back to the house while he walks through. They just can't even face the reality of it. And when he comes out and very gently says, you know, what are you looking for? And they say, do you think it's, can I get 250? And he says, how about if I give you 240 and I'll clean the entire thing out, and you don't ever have to go back in there again. When they look at him like he's, you know, like the savior of all saviors, and they say, you would do that? And he buys it. Well, Kristen's got a $250,000 equity. What if she goes on a listing and the lady acts like that, or the guy acts like that? And they say, I just want to get out of it. You say, well, you know what? I just decided I don't want to list this house anymore. I think I want to buy it. What will you take? And now she can pay cash for it. And now she's got the instant equity that Patrick is always looking for when you come out there and you can grab something. So don't forget to keep that hat in your back pocket, guys, the owner investor hat. Okay. As long as you immediately shift gears and say, you know what, I'd like to consider buying this. Can we talk about that? And please get your own attorney and, disclose. Because that's opportunity. That's like renting a hoarder house for $90. That's like having your partners now want to buy an office building, Opportunity is going to be there. You just got to understand when it's an open door and you got to walk through it, bust right through it, run, get in that door.
Interesting.
A lot of guys call it loan to own. So you just got to be prepared, like Rich says, to take ownership. I've seen it happen a couple of times. It's actually happening right now a few different places. I've talked to people.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, flippers, have stretched themselves a little too far, and they can't grab money from a bank. That's quite often why they're using a hard money lender. And those guys are just what they are, hard money lenders. So they don't have to put up any more money. They know what they have going in. They'll take it back just as quick as they gave the flip of the money. And then they can make the money on the other end on the way out.
Yep.
Oh, no.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So Rich, on that first flip that you were telling us about, how did that all get done? Like, did you kind of project manage it, or did somebody else, like your partner? How did it all get done?
My partner's a guy named Ted Dobbins. I found him. I forget who introduced me, but he basically said, I said, I need a guy to plow my rental driveways in the wintertime. And he said, I'll get a guy for you. And he had Ted call me. So I started with that. Ted was plowing, and that was in like 2014. And by 2015, he was still plowing. And then he said, he called me all the time. Because if you remember, that winter was really, really bad. That was 100 and some inches of snow. So his equipment was breaking down. And he was so apologetic. He was doing the best he could, but it was really heavy, wet snow. Like every 3 days, you get 3 feet. It was awful. But he said to me in that summer, he said, I do a lot of other things beside that. So he started doing different projects for me and stuff. So another thing too, when you hire a contractor, guys, and the job's done, pay them right away. Okay, pay them right away. They love that. Other guys don't. A lot of people don't. They fight. They, just duck them and stuff. I always write a check that day. Just be done. Okay. So Ted appreciated that. So when he brought that to my attention, he knew I was in real estate, the 2-family on Iron Hill. And I just got lucky that the IRS froze his money man's assets. I mean, I got lucky. If the IRS sends a letter 2 months later, he's in with his pal Arthur and they're doing it. So that's how it all came about. The funny thing on that is the guy got his money. So he owed $46,000, got it for $236,000, $180,000. He became the biggest heroin dealer in Weymouth. Used all that money to buy a whole crap load of heroin and started dealing. That's not the investment I would recommend for anything. Okay.
Yeah, no. Do you recommend, like in your experience, as far as like getting equity lines, is there certain banks or something that you feel have better options?
Yeah, I went to Santander because I asked TD Bank because they had loaned on my 4 families. And they're like, yeah, we could definitely do that. The rate will be 6.5. And I'm like, what? No. So Santander was 4, so I went with them. If you find a better one, I'm all ears. Please let me know. I am not loyal. All right, it's all money. So I will jump around. I'm in Norfolk County, so I've had my home equity line in my own house with Direct Federal Credit Union out of Needham forever. Just refinanced with them, bumped it up to the top at a lower rate. And then a lot of times I use Lannon and Kelly because Sue Payson is a friend of mine, and she recommended South Shore Bank for the business line of credit on my 4-family. So I went and talked to Matt Preddy, who I know Zeb knows very well, and he's just a world of wealth and information on the banking side. And we've been using a lot of South Shore Bank, that Showcase and Signature, as well as my own personal business. I know Zeb's got a good relationship with them as well. So those are the places where I went and got all my equity lines from.
And is that plus prime too, or is that total?
Well, that's the total rate. It's,
Okay.
so 2.75, 4% on the 2-family, and then 4.25 on the 500,000 from the business line of credit. So it's still pretty reasonable rates of interest,
But if you do plus prime on a couple of my notes, I changed it around because I made 1031 some properties. So I went that route. just as you would if you were moving into a house for 3 or 4 years, you'd get an adjustable if you have one of those jobs that move you around
Right.
quite often. So you can do that. And I think it's whatever the rate is, +2 if it's prime, +2. So it really hasn't shifted too much in the last month and a half. It's been pretty good. Other than that, 15-year, it's usually 25-year amortization with a 10-year note, depending on how many units you have. So you keep that in mind too. The banks like to rewrite it every 10 years to make a half a point, or just to look at what the values might be of the properties at the time.
Everybody understand what he's talking about? He's mostly talking like commercial loans, okay? Like
Yeah.
5 and above, 5 and above, okay? And he also, it's commercial if it's a 2-unit, but one of the units is like a storefront, and then an apartment above or apartment next to it, okay? That's commercial as well. And the other thing he's talking about, how many units you own, I think it's buildings. You can have 5 buildings that are Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac approved loans, okay? You get to the 6th building, the 6th loan, I should say, not building, loan, okay? Like, for example, me, I have 2 loans right now, my own house and so I can get 3 more properties if I chose to, which I don't choose to. But you can have 5 Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans out, and anytime you go for a 6th one and you still have those 5 loans out, you have to get a commercial loan at that point. You're not Fannie Mae, Freddie Macable anymore, okay?
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Rich?
That's all helpful info.
Cool, Mark. Do you own a house, Mark?
Yeah, I actually closed 9 years ago today. It's funny.
Okay, congrats.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah,
That's great.
better, better market at the time. I'm glad it was $270,000, and I remember being like scared shitless to do it. But thankfully now it's probably double that. So
Sure.
that's funding my real estate profession right now.
Excellent.
Well,
What other
I'd like
questions?
to, I'd like to get another one, but like I wasn't sure if they, for loans, if they go off of your tax returns, like I had W-2 income all of last year, but
Yeah.
this year only have it up until March. So I wasn't sure, like, loans and whatnot, if, how
That's
to
it.
maneuver that.
You want to answer that, Zeb?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind jumping in. What a lot of real estate investors, agents, people involved in real estate or self-employed, they think they're doing themselves a favor by whacking their taxes to death, that they got a lot of write-offs. And I haven't done that. And I've paid a lot in taxes, income taxes. But I can get some pretty big loans because of my income, and I'm not beating it up to the point that it looks like I'm not making any money. Because then you go to the bank and they say, well, you have 60 rental units, but none of them are doing too well, and you want us to give you $1 million. And you say, oh no, they're really doing well. It's just how I had my taxes prepared. And they say, well, we have to go off your taxes because we have the feds watching us when we give out money.
Yep.
So I've got a few friends that have done that, and they look like they're paupers, but they live in $900,000 houses and drive a couple of nice cars and go on their vacations. But so you got to keep an eye on how you're going to work your write-offs.
Mhm. And Mark, if I can speak to this, because I looked into this too. So I was a W-2 at 1.2. And when you go from a W-2 to a 1099, they look back 2 years, but they can't account for your W-2 because you don't do that anymore. So you have to literally be on a 1099 for 2 years with stable income before you can get a loan.
Yeah, that's a good question for like the Mike Kings and Bob Malones of the
Yeah.
world, Mark. But that said, Kristen's absolutely right. It's not just 2 years, you guys, that they look back. It's also giving me a profit and loss for this year. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm refinancing with Mike King right now, and like if I get an update and send a profit and loss. They want to see how you're doing this year too, because you could absolutely fall off the cliff, especially during COVID. They're worried about COVID income going way down. So.
Yeah.
So you're probably, unless you can pay cash for something, Mark, with your equity line, you're probably going to be out for 2 years.
Actually, I'm going for a couple of loans now, and in my commitment letter, they said within 120 days, they can ask me for an update on my income and my P&Ls. And then within 30 days, they want me to give it. So that goes right back to what Gary Keller said about your P&L and your own business. Keep it updated every month. So when you have it, you can see what you're doing with it. And immediately, you don't have to go into your shoebox and start taking out all the bills and trying to put them in order. It should be done. Mine's done because the payment's weekly, but it would, if you have it monthly, you're in good shape.
Kristen, you're muted.
Perfect.
Sorry, I know. Haha, I'm not muted anymore. Does anybody have any questions for Rich? Bill?
Rich, I got a question for you. So I'm of the mindset right now, based on my age, that I'm trying to get whatever I have paid down. I don't need the cash flow, and I could be thinking about this wrong. So I'm trying to take whatever additional monies we make from the properties and try to pay down the, pay down the principal on the properties. We also, on everything we have, we're either in 15 or 20-year notes. We didn't do anything in a 30 because I'm old. I don't want to take out 30-year notes at my age. At any point, were you taking your additional, I know you touched upon it, were you taking any of your profit and just paying down the mortgages on what you had?
Sure was, Bill. Sure was. I think you're on the right track. If you got extra every month, and I would keep some reserves aside. Everybody, maybe I don't know, maybe at least 3 months, or have, if you got the equity line of credit, that can be your reserves, and use the rest of the money to pay down the expensive stuff. So start with your highest rate bill, whatever that one is, and get it gone, because that's costing you the most money, right?
Right.
Everybody, every year you should look at your properties, look at what the rate is. Can you do any better? Can you do any better? Is there any other way to save money on it? Just spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours thinking of each one, okay? Like every year I shop my insurance. And I think at the one meeting I told you, Anthony Signorelli saved me $2,700 in my insurance. He bundled them all together on the 4 buildings in a business owner's policy. Instead of paying 5 or 4 different, fire policies at $3,000 a piece, you got it down to like 10. It was great. So every year, look at everything all the time. Is there a cheaper electric provider when you got to pay for your house meter? I know it's only $40 a month, but still look at it. Can you bump those rents? Okay, I raise my rents when a person moves out. Reason being, the devil you know is always better than the devil you don't know. Okay, somebody gets in there and they're good and they're paying the rent, I leave them alone. I've bought buildings that the people are still in there because I raise them here and there, maybe $100, $150 every few years. For the most part, I leave people alone because I like having stable paying tenants. Believe me, you can sleep at night, they're taking care of the place. It's good. But if you have extra, Billy D, pay those suckers down, man. Pay them all down.
So we're actually getting ready to, we're selling our Albatross tomorrow, which is Patrick and I joke about the good old city of Worcester, Mass. So we're closing on the first thing I ever bought. And we're trying to find a place to put our money, which is interesting. We're looking from Naples, Maine and Naples, Florida, and everywhere in between, maybe an Airbnb, maybe, and that's probably a different call, Kristen, but we're looking at some stuff in the South right now that if you just want to be an Airbnb person, the rental incomes are absolutely insane. I mean, I'm talking 4 times what you can get here, $40,000, $50,000 a year for like a 1-bedroom. But anyway.
Really?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for everything, Rich.
Yes.
That'll be a class for about 6 months from now after you bought the Airbnb.
Yeah.
Tell us how it's going.
Yeah, we believe that's the route we're going to go. And it's, at any time I'm ready to jump on a plane. It could be Florida, could be Myrtle Beach. We're not sure.
I think that Rich, did you say you're not purchasing any more units? You're good at where you're at. So you're trying to just pay down everything you have.
164 grand and I'm good, Zeb.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick and choose what I want to do.
So that's why you're using all your money to pay down instead of buying more.
Yeah. I'm old too. I don't want to do this forever. So.
Can I ask your opinion?
No.
All right, so let's say you've got a distressed property, you pay cash for it, you have to update it. So let's say, you have to pay cash for the property and then updates on the property. then obviously you have the option to either sell it or hold it, right? So that's a lot of money out of pocket that you're putting down, right? Let's just say the house is 300,000 and then you have to put 100,000, that's $400,000 cash. Do you think that's a wise move to do something like that? You know, flip it if the market stays the way it is now, or hold it and save it and then just have it be, you know, it's paid off? Or do you think it's better to get a loan and buy a couple different properties instead of dumping all your money into one?
There's so many variables there, Chris. I'd have to know a lot more about it, and we only have like 2 more minutes left before Bob Gill has his great class. So I would say it depends on how many units it is, where it is a good location. Do you want to keep it, or do you want to get rid of it? So you know, if let's say it's a 3-unit and you want to keep it and it's near your house, then take out a loan to have your cash back and keep it, and make sure that the loan is payable by any 2 of the 3 apartments, and you'll be good to go.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, yeah, we'll jump off because I know that there is a class right after us. So thank you guys all for being here. Thank you, Rich, for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Thanks, Rich.
Leverage it. Let's go.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. See you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
For you, Rich.